On BBC Sounds.
BBC Radio London.
5:21, Shay Kaur Grewal with you here on Radio London till 6. Now, up next, I'm going to be discussing a critical issue affecting our environment and public health, and that is sewage discharges into our rivers. Recent reports have revealed that Thames Water, the largest water provider in the UK, has seen a staggering 40% increase in pollution events during the first half of this year alone, with 359 incidents recorded between April and September. It's raising serious concerns about the management of our water resources. Joining me on the line today is Paul Kohler, Liberal Democrat MP for Wimbledon, who has made ending harmful sewage discharges one of his key priorities. Paul, some of these figures that I've just mentioned here will be very concerning for our listeners. What do they mean?
It just shows that Thames Water are not looking after our resources. As you say, sewage spills have gone up by 40%, and yet they are still paying bonuses. They paid £770,000 in bonuses at the same time as sewage spills increased by 40%. The new chief executive, for 3 months, in his first 3 months, he was given a bonus of £195,000. It makes no sense when they're not getting hold of the problem. They're simply not addressing the sewage discharges, and they are also applying to OFWAT for a 59% increase in consumer bills over the next 5 years. It's simply not good enough.
Well, Thames Water have attributed this rise to heavy rainfall during the spring and summer months. Do you think that actually weather conditions should excuse these pollution events that are occurring?
No, it shouldn't excuse them. That is meant to be their expertise. They deal in water. They should surely calculate for the fact there will be rainfall. It's simply not an acceptable answer. And Thames Water are absolutely on the brink. Their debt now, according to The Guardian today, is in excess of £19 billion. They could well run out of money by March. They're going to court next week and next month for extensions, liquidity extensions that will give them money till next October. They're trying to raise more finances, but the reality is they're absolutely on the brink. They've taken their eye off the ball, and we need them brought into special administration as soon as possible.
Just another key element and point there. Mr. Weston has blamed not only the wet and spring summer period, but has said that problems with its infrastructure were decades in the making. So clearly their point here being that there's a lot that they're having to manage over the decades.
Well, of course, that's their role as a water company. They borrowed money and paid it out in dividends. They spent more on dividends than they have on investment. To argue now, oh my goodness, the infrastructure is in a poor state. Well, why haven't they spent the last 5 years repairing it? Simply paying dividends and bonuses when they should be repairing the infrastructure is simply not good enough.
Just referencing Chris Weston there, the boss of Thames Water, defending the executive bonuses. He says the supplier needs to offer competitive packages to attract talent. What would you say to that?
Well, what is the talent doing? The talent is simply spending its bonus rather than sorting the issue. Look at the evidence. Sewage spills going up. Infrastructure breaking down. I see that in my constituency, where we have constant flooding in Rains Park, where we have sewers collapsing in Wimbledon Hill Road. These are things, a direct result of their failure to invest in their own business. If they pay dividends rather than invest in their business, this is bound to happen. And we need, of course, a stronger regulator to force them to actually get their act together.
Now, you referenced earlier on, actually, this final decision on whether Thames can increase its bills by 59%. That's actually due on the 19th of December. Chris Weston has described this decision that's upcoming as a critical step, which would be fundamental to the company's future. They argue they need extra cash to make Thames investable enough to attract fresh funding, therefore being able to pay for improvements to its network of pipes and sewers. So clearly they want to work towards getting the right solution for customers. Can you see that perspective here?
Of course I can, but the reality is, why do they borrow all that money and spend it on dividends? That's just simply ludicrous and ridiculous. Moody's have now downgraded their debt to junk status because they've so mismanaged the business over the last decade.
On this final point, what are then some of the initiatives that can be put into place to tackle this issue, would you say?
Well, we need Thames to go into special administration, but talking more generally, we need a regulator with teeth. Ofwat is too supine. Do you know one of its duties is to ensure that Thames Water and all water companies can get a reasonable return on their investment. They're under no duty to ensure there's reasonable water. Clean water. So Ofwat's whole direction of travel is towards helping the water companies rather than the customers. We need to stop bonuses being paid to bosses when the water company is committing sewage, and we need a wholly different approach. We would like them to become public benefit companies like Ben and Jerry's in the state, where they're not just about profit but also do other things, including looking after the environment and the customer.
Well, that's one angle. The other, of course, we've heard from Unite General Secretary Sharon Graham, who has called for officials to stand up for, quote, public interest, consider bringing Thames back into public ownership. I mean, is that actually going to salvage what clearly is a broken system here, where it's underfunded, requires a lot of money and equity into it to actually be brought back to a high standard which it once was?
I and my party are not ideological about ownership. I don't think nationalisation will suddenly make things better. We need it properly regulated. We need the regulator to be able to actually revoke the licence if they keep polluting the rivers. Do you know at the moment Ofwat sorry, that's a division bell going. Ofwat can only revoke the licence. They must give 25 years notice before they revoke the licence. That's ridiculous. What threat is that? There's no threat whatsoever. I'm afraid I must now go and vote.
I certainly will allow you to get back to your duties. Thank you for joining me this afternoon. Paul Kohler there, who is Liberal Democrat MP for Wimbledon, as you just